Good morning and welcome to the entrepreneurial journey. And we're talking about one of my favorite things to discuss, which is negative reviews. And negative reviews have such a huge impact on every business in today's world, right? I mean, you can live by the word of you are what Google says you are. And as we take this entrepreneurial journey, as we focus on how do you build $1 million business, as we go down that path, as we take off on that, the number one thing that we can do is we need to focus on what our online reputation looks like. Interestingly enough, I was scrolling through LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or one of those channels over the weekend, and I saw a contractor and he was doing a remodel of a bathroom or something like that, and he was putting up some wood panels. And he made a video post, and on his video post he said, "Hey, I normally don't post online. I normally don't post, my work on social media because I don't care what you think, and I'm not going to be a slave to social media, and I'm not going to be a slave to the internet, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do that." And I love that while we as entrepreneurs have the ability to do whatever we want, if we want to be successful, if we want to grow in this era, in this time that we live in, then we've got to embrace the internet. Technology moves faster than we do. Technology moves so much faster than our businesses. How many people are using Chat GPT today? How many people are using Chat GPT to write things for their business, write letters, learn things? There's so many things that are moving so fast. And I can remember that when I started this business, when I started my business, 20 years ago, it was like we were in the phone books, and I would go into Dex Media or Super Pages, and I would go in there, and I would get a quarter page ad or a full page ad in the phone book, and that's how I would advertise my business. And I had an office phone, and when I left, I had an answering machine, and people left messages, and we took faxes, and then we got email, and it was like, oh gosh, what is this email? Now I've got to check this email all the time, and people are sending email messages, and so the world just changes so fast, and technology changes so fast. But reviews are absolutely critical to the success of any business, and that is an online format in which people are responding to how they feel about your business. And what I want you to do is think about a time when you had an absolutely horrible experience. Think about that time. When did you do something and you were just like, gosh, this is brutal? Oh, look, we've got a surprise guest joining in just fresh off the plane. And Dave, talking about experiences, and we're talking about what's going on. We're talking about reviews. And look at that. Dave Vetter just joins in. So everybody welcome Dave Vetter in. Look at, he's incognito. He's looking good. And morning, Dave.
Morning. I heard reviews and I got very concerned. I felt like I had to join.
So it's something to be concerned about. It's definitely something to be concerned about. And we're just talking about right now is just what is a time when, what is a time when you had a horrible situation, or something just went so bad customer service wise, for you. And so I think it's just an important thing because we're talking about reviews and we're talking about the customer experience, and we're just going to throw you on the spot. What's a situation where you just had horrible customer service that you'll never forget?
Oh my gosh. Worst customer service I had was with a massive aerospace industry giant. And don't want to brag about this, but this was years ago. And there was a manufacturing facility that we were helping perform services for. And just the local leadership was not up to the task, and just the clawback and just trying to help and recover the amount of resources, and really just not realizing that something can sometimes go so bad so fast. And then also timing. I think sometimes you can get in a bad situation where you've always got to be on that for your customer, but sometimes it just doesn't work out well. And then sometimes the exact wrong person happens to be doing a visit to a facility that you're doing a project on, and something's gone bad. But my favorite one as far as bad customer service is one of my teams was working on a project that they were working on a bioswale, and they had this excavator out there. And the project was going great, and the mission was to just kind of clean out this overgrown. They had an excavator, and the crews were working on doing a great job, moving along just fine. And then they left the excavator, where it was. It was in the work area, well, which happens to be in the bioswale. And some surprise thunderstorm came along and buried mud, everything. Water flowed through the bioswale, mud came through, and this giant excavator is like up to like this.
It was gone.
It's gone.
Right? Didn't they literally think it got stolen, didn't they?
It was so bad.
The bioswale ate the excavator.
Bioswale ate the excavator. And then to top it off, when we went in to rescue the excavator, terrible communication. They brought in one of those monster cranes, the ones that's got the pilot vehicles in the back in front of it, they're going to suck this thing out of the mud, and it's huge. Well, this was at a multifamily residential community property. And again, just sometimes things just don't go your way. And the on-site team did not fail to communicate to anybody that they were going to set this crane up right at the entryway to a multifamily community. And, they've got the big outriggers are down, this huge things up there sucking, and everybody's trying to go to work, and they can't now because this, just so many ton vehicle is just blocking the whole thing. And that was just bad. It was just
yeah, that is bad. And you got 240 people that might be thinking about leaving a negative review. That's when you just are disappointed that you wrapped every one of your trucks.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one to navigate through. I'm going to go, since you went business related, I'm going to go non-business related, and I'll just share, bad experience. Spirit Airlines, right? I was flying to Vegas, and I was like, this is when Spirit Airlines first came out, and I didn't know much about it, but I took a flight to Vegas, and it was $79, right? And I was like, oh man, this is kind of cool. $79 airfare. I'm like, what's up with this? So I buy the ticket. Well, literally, did I not know or not pay attention or not read the fine print or whatever? But I get there, and it was, and we're going to charge you, I'm just going to make it up, $100 for your bag. And then, oh, by the way, you can't have a carry-on unless you pay $50. And by the way, we don't have snacks. And by the way, we don't have water. And by the way, you can't wear a hat on the plane. And I mean, just everything that you can imagine, right? Just a horrible experience. It's hot on the plane. There's no drink service. There's no little cookies. There's no little peanuts. There's nothing on the plane, and everything costs you. And when you get off the plane, it's like, okay, well, the amount of money that I actually spent to put my overhead in, and I spent for this, and I might as well just have bought a normal plane ticket, because it ended up costing me the same to have all of the convenience that I wanted. They just broke it out in a way that I felt was tricky, and it wasn't a good experience, right? Yeah. It just wasn't a good experience. And we have these experiences, and then we decide what we're going to do.
Yep. And, you get back in, and how these days, I mean, this is the 21st century, man. And it's all about, people voice their opinions on the internet. And
they do.
And it can be devastating, and you have to offset it. Because I know that I personally, and I'm sure you maybe have started this earlier in your conversation, but I know that, like right now, my fiance is driving up from California here, and she's checking out different hotels. And I know that the first thing that she does is she looks for what's convenient and what looks nice. But then the very next thing is she's seeing, how many stars do you have?
Yeah.
And that's how you judge things. And if you have to have you are going to have negative reviews. I don't care if you're in the restaurant industry, construction industry, if you're in some sort of service work, or even a hospital, has reviews. And you're going to get a customer that something goes wrong. We're human. Not everything always goes right, and something will go sideways, and you have to be able to offset that. Because if all you have on your website or all you have on Google is just negative reviews, well, good luck with that, because you are missing so much money. I know there's a number out there for what the average 5-star review costs the average company, and it's what, $10,000 or
10
something.
grand. Yeah.
10 grand. That is so much.
Every review under 3.5 stars costs your business 10 grand. But when we're thinking about those businesses, like we're thinking about like Taco Bell's, or we're thinking about Five Guys Burgers and Fries, or we're
little
we're
ones
thinking about Wendy's or things like that. We're not thinking about a company, maybe a construction company, where the average project value is 100 grand.
Right.
Or the average project is 50 grand. What is that review really costing you? What is that really doing to your business? And it's absolutely detrimental. It's absolutely brutal to the business. And you know what? We are all going to get negative reviews. And I want to take 2 seconds and 2 minutes, and I want to talk about Yelp, right? Because like when we're dealing with negative reviews, like I'm going to tell you, one, as a consumer, just like Dave mentioned with his fiance who's taking this road trip, like she's looking at the stars. I do the same thing. So if I want a home service, if I want something for my home or my business, the only place that I look for a contractor is on Yelp. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because it's absolutely the worst place to be if you are a contractor. And I'll tell you that as a contractor, if we get a client who finds us on Yelp, they find us on Yelp, then we do a job, then they give us a 5-star review on Yelp, like only 25% of those reviews they even keep. They discard 75% of them, even if they find us on Yelp. Like they literally just remove the reviews because their review policies are so strict. So it makes it so hard to even get reviews. And then if the review is fake, even if a competitor writes it against you and it goes on your Yelp page, guess what? They don't remove it. They don't take it down. Nothing. It's like, and that's the review they show first. So like a site like Yelp makes it really difficult for anybody in business to navigate. So what I find is that if I'm looking for a hotel, or I'm looking for a restaurant, or I'm looking for a contractor, a landscaper, a snow guy, a roofer, a water heater guy, if I look at those stars and somebody has 35-star reviews and a 5.0 record, I'm like, just wow. I'm impressed. Yeah. Because that contractor must have an incredible customer experience, because at the end of the day, that's a tough site to navigate. That's a tough site to be a part of. So I know that I'm going to use those companies. In fact, I'm going to pay more money to use a Yelp contractor or service than I will somebody else, because I actually trust that, Yelp is going to show everything negative. There's nothing that's going to be hidden. They're not going to be taking reviews down. They're going to be very difficult. And, people who are in the service industry, like this is something that we deal with on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
So how do we combat that? How do we do that? What do you look for in your reviews, Dave?
Well, if I'm reviewing, you mean if I'm reviewing another company, what am I looking for?
Yeah, what are you looking for if you're going to buy something?
If I'm going to buy something, it's interesting. I look for what feels like genuine reviews. I'm looking for anything that's 4 stars and above. I'll just be honest, and that's usually what I'm looking for. And then I actually look to disqualify 5-star reviews. If it looks like, oh, that's probably their buddy, that's probably an employee, that's probably their neighbor or their mom, or something like that. And so I'm looking for the ones that show pictures. I'm looking for the ones that look like it was a legit job, that feels legit. They're talking something specific about a project. And so that way I can just understand that, okay, this legitimately sounds like a customer that had a really good experience. And then the number one thing I'm looking for is I like to know that that the communication was high and that the customer just felt like, just that company, whatever it was, just really like went out of their way um, to just make sure that I was taken care of. Just looking for anybody that can get as close to the Disney experience, in contracting that you can get. I think that's what I'm looking for.
That's what we're looking for, right? I mean, we're looking for that excellent customer service because, that means something, right? And, dealing with contractors is tough. They're late. They're not on, they're not showing up on time. They're not getting the job done on time. They've got all sorts of problems that come along the way. So when we're talking about reviews, that's how we like to handle it. Now, let's say that you get a negative review.
Yeah.
Well,
On your own company.
Yeah, like on your own company. How are you going to handle that?
Well, the first thing is there's a sense of urgency, right? It's all hands on deck. You shouldn't be getting negative reviews every day or even every week or anything like that. You should, so if you see that, first of all, you have to know about it. I think that as a company, as a contractor, it's your responsibility there's a lot of different services out there that can help you monitor if you don't have your own IT department or a marketing team or if you're a smaller entity, there's a lot of third-party providers out there that can send you alerts, let you know that it's happened. Because the last thing you want is a negative review to be floating out there. And maybe you just don't check your Yelp account every day or your Google account every day. You got other things going on. You don't want to have this thing that came in there and you're not even aware of it. So first of all, know about it and then treat it with the utmost urgency. You got to address it right away. Contact that customer, see what the real issue is. A lot of times people just feel like I've found that a lot of times people just felt like they weren't being heard. Like maybe they've complained to somebody else in your team and haven't really gotten the response that they were looking for. And this is the last resort. People don't want to go out of their way to write a review. I mean, you have to, that's not their first stop, right? They've tried to work with somebody on your team and it was unsuccessful and they don't know how to get elevated up. And so this is how they lash out. And so that's what I found most of the time. So I think if you can jump right on it, reach out to the customer, try, show that empathy, make it right, do what you say. I mean, most businesses have, core values and mission statements that say something along the lines of take care of our customers. So follow through on that, get what you need to, get that improvement, that solution in with the customer. And then honestly, if you do make it right, then ask. It's like, hey, was this really where you want to leave or are we good now? And ask to have them take it down. And you know what, if you take care of it, they really don't want it. They don't like, I really didn't want to give you that negative review. I really didn't want to. I just felt like there was no other option. So boom. And they're like, yeah, if you take care of those things, I'll pull it down right away. I'll pull it down today.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Nobody really wants to leave that review. Nobody wants to just blast you online. In fact, when they're writing the review, they're actually feeling nervous. And then they're writing it. And sometimes they're getting more and more frustrated about the things that you've done wrong as they kind of recap what's happened. And so, like, at the end of the day, what you've got to do is you've really got to understand that, one, they don't want to do this that most of the time. I mean, there is the 1% that is just nasty all the time and they like to be nasty, and that's okay. But we can deal with that. But what we find is that that's the truth. And the other point that you made, I think, was great, was you said they hadn't been heard. And I think that's so true, because a lot of times when the review is happening, it's because they've reached out.
Yep.
And they've reached out. And they've reached out. And they've reached out. And they feel like leaving this review is like the last resort, right? Or at the end of the project, they just look at it and they feel like they didn't get their money's worth, or whatever they did. It wasn't worth what they paid in their mind. And so they're upset about it. And so, like you said, the first thing we want to do is we want to pick up the phone. That's step number one. We want to pick up the phone and we want to call the customer.
Not an email.
Not an email, right? We want to pick up the phone and call them. And we just want to listen. and be empathetic. That's really what this is all about here. We are being empathetic. We are listening. We are apologizing, taking ownership, taking personal
Yeah.
responsibility for the failure. And then we are seeing, what do we need to do to make this right? Is
Yep.
this a monetary discount because we know that a review is worth 10 grand? Is this a repair to the job? What is it that makes this right? What is it that solves this problem for this client? The client always has a solution in their mind, or a solution that they're aiming towards with that review. They're trying to get your attention, and they're trying to have a conversation. So what do we need to do? Ultimately, the goal is to bring the review down or change the review from a 1-star to a 5-star. If you got a 1-star review, how do you make that review a 5-star? That should be the goal every single time. And so how do we go back in? How do we correct the issue? How do we rebuild trust? And how do we make it right for the customer?
Yep.
And that's what takes that hard work, where you've got to update them continually every day, be proactive. If there's an issue on a job site, like maybe materials are delayed, a lot of material delayed during the COVID times, right? That was unexpected, or just freak changes in product pricing, right? Like, a sheet of OSB plywood, went from $8 to $67 a sheet. So, how do you account for those things? How do you adjust for those things? And I think what I find is that if you're open and honest, and that you really show the customer that you care, and then you take care of the things that were failing, you can get that 1-star to a 5-star. And that's so important. And the
Yeah.
other thing is, ask for reviews all the time. Be constantly asking for reviews from your customers. Like, get those stars up, because a lot of times, only a small percentage of the people who are upset even leave a response. I think it's 25%. But the people who are happy rarely ever leave a response. So
Right.
what we need to do is we need to put a plan in place to bonus our staff to, get those 5-star reviews. Be asking, hey, Mike, I need you to go ask all of your customers for a 5-star review, and ask them again and ask them again, and say, hey, and the way that we preface it is, hey, have I deserved a 5-star review on this project? And if they say yes, awesome. Would you leave one for me?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, well, this is a great telltale into your job, because now you can say, well, what do I need to do here? What did I miss? And it gives you actually an opportunity to correct whatever might have been wrong before it even gets to that point. So you're actually having that conversation. And if you're doing landscaping or something, they might be like, well, you know what? The bushes weren't planted in a straight row.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Like, I had some palm trees done by Palms Northwest. Like, I would never work with this company again in my entire life. The palm trees are all planted off center. Like, what kind of line is that? You know what I mean? And so, like, you look at what they do. Were the palm trees good? Yeah. Were the people nice? Yeah. Were the products good? I mean, yeah. But at the end product was disappointing. And when we said, hey, we're upset with this, we wanted them in a straight line, it was just excuses and issues and fighting. And it's like, okay, I don't have time for it. I'm just, okay, they're off. I'm going to have to live with it. And that's what, and that's what a lot of customers are left with. And they feel like they're left with this situation that they can't do anything about. So they're going to leave that review. And then you look at other reviews, and it's like, okay, those people had a similar experience. It looks like this company does fall short when it comes to this. And how hard would have it been to correct the 2 palm trees that were out of line?
Yeah.
A couple hours worth of work. So what can you do? That's the big question. What can you do? Now, Dave, what is an incredible experience that you've had? Just an amazing, off the charts. I'm going to recommend it. I absolutely love the service conversation.
Yeah. I'll stay away from Disneyland, because I know that's their whole thing, is making sure that you have an amazing customer experience there. But I think that I've been treated that way at a lot of places. And one of them, there's a restaurant, a steakhouse that's down in Bellevue, Washington, and just over the top, didn't have a reservation, came in. It was a spontaneous opportunity to stop by this place. They're like, well, we don't, but you know what? Let's take care of you. You know, they brought somebody out, they moved some tables around, you know, just really taking care and going the extra way. But my favorite customer experience was actually on when I got engaged. When I got engaged to get married, and years ago, and went to the Venetian, or I'm sorry, the Mirage Hotel back when it existed. But anyway, showed up at the hotel, and the hotel found out that it was our engagement. And that's what we were down there for. And we had some friends that had called up and ordered champagne and strawberries to be delivered to our room. Well, they asked, why do you want champagne and strawberries delivered to these people's room? And they said, why? So when we showed up at the hotel had already said, by the way, congratulations. They had a congratulations card. They had a gift right at the counter when we showed up, specifically for us. Said, you know, Dave and to our fiance. Anyway, they're like, we've upgraded you to the penthouse, and so you'll be staying in the penthouse room, and we've bought our own champagne and strawberries to give to you as well. So there's like strawberries and chocolate covered strawberries everywhere and champagne everywhere. But they went out of their way just because they heard it was a special event and a special day. Didn't ask for it, didn't make any was totally great with it. But they upgraded us to a pet. I mean, this thing was big. At the time, I was young and didn't have a house yet. This thing was bigger than our apartment, and just way awesome. And just everything, they gave us passes to this, passes to that. They just said, we want your whole stay to be just magical. And that was probably the best, hands down. That just spontaneously just going over the top for a customer. Now, I probably paid for it with how much money I lost in the casino.
Totally.
But
right? But it was an amazing experience, and you'll never forget about it. All of these years later, I'm going to use the Disney. I'm going to use Disney. We flew into Orlando, Florida, and our son was just like a year old, and he needed milk, and like if he didn't have milk, he would just wake up crying for hours. And so, we get off the airplane and check in, and we're land, and I'm like, okay, we'll find a store on the way. Well, just ironically, there's like no little convenience store or gas station that we found from the airport to the Disneyland hotel. And so it's kind of late at night, and we didn't find anything on the way, and we get in, and by the time we get in there, they're closed, right? The store is closed. And I'm like, I'm telling the guy, oh man, there's no place to get milk. So, he comes back and he says, hey, Mr. Westcott, he said, you know what? I've called security, and they've agreed to shut off the security to the hotel, and they're going to allow me to go in and get a gallon of milk and bring that out for you, even though we're closed. How would you like to pay for that? We'd like to charge. Oh man, that's amazing, right? Just like, wow, thank you, man. Because those of you who have little kids or have had little kids or whatever, that a crying baby in the middle of the night for hours that won't go back to sleep is like just one of the worst experiences of your life. But that clerk, checking us in went above and beyond. The first answer was, no, man, sorry. But the second was, hey, let me see what I can do for you. Let me see how I can make this amazing. Let me see what can happen here. And I think, like, whether you're getting married and you're at the Mirage and they put you in the penthouse, or whether they do something as simple as open up the store and get you milk, that's what this is all about. This incredible experience, this obsession with an incredible experience. This is what is going to prevent negative reviews from being there. Now, it's not saying that you're not going to get a negative review, because you're going to have difficult customers. You're going to have things that are outside of your control, but you've got to focus on winning these amazing customers and getting good 5-star reviews and putting it in place. The rule of thumb is, for every negative review, you need 10 positive reviews, right? So that needs to be less than 10% or 10% less than what your review category holds. And if you can hold to that, and if you can build your reputation, and if you can keep those stars high, it's awesome. It's not saying that everything is perfect, because we're going to have some accounts at 4.3, some accounts at 4.5, some accounts at 4.8. We're going to have negative reviews. And guess what? Business is people driven, and people are going to make mistakes. People are going to have errors. People are going to quit. People are going to go on vacation. People are going to miss communications. We're all humans. We all make mistakes. But it's the true mettle of a company is not in their accolades, but it's in how they stand up when an issue is presented in front of them and how that issue is addressed with the customer. And so that's what we've got to focus. That's where we've got to work on. And if we want to have these 5-star reviews mitigated, we've got to deliver an incredible experience. And that's to your employees, because your employees won't deliver it to your customers unless they see it at home first. So we got to deliver that. And now we got to deliver it to subs and suppliers, and then we got to deliver it to our customers. And that's my 2 cents. Dave, any final thoughts?
Well, you mentioned it. You have to offset the upcoming negative reviews. It's going to happen, and you have to attack it. But also, I think it's really important. 3 things. First, you need to communicate with your entire team, not just your operations people or whoever is dealing with customers. Your entire team should understand and have an opportunity. You can get a 5-star review from somebody that's answering the phones. You can get a 5-star review from someone in your accounting team. You can get a 5-star review from anybody on your team. So just acknowledge that. Make it worth their while. And then last is teach them how to do it right. There's a point in every conversation that you'll have, whether it's with a supplier, whether it's with a contractor, whether it's a customer, whoever you are, well, they'll say something like, wow, this was great. Thank you so much for doing. It's like, well, I'm glad that you're satisfied with that. By the way, would it be too much to ask if you could just share that online? We really appreciate, taking care of you, and it would make so much of an impact for me if you would just mind just going to this website, and I'll send you a link. I'll make it really easy to give me a 5-star review because I handled your payment processing the way you liked it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Ask for that review. I think that's great advice. Ralph asks, is there a way for us to review Yelp for bad customer service? Actually, there is a whole support group out there for people who hate Yelp. And if you look at the Yelp advertisements, there are thousands of people just saying how bad Yelp is. It's kind of like, just one of those things that, people don't like Yelp. Yelp has got a bad name, but I mean, if you're looking for somebody and you see their 5-star ratings, they're a pretty legit company. So that's that. Listen, if you like this, if this was good for you, give us a like, give us a share. Thanks for joining in. I'm David Westcott. Follow me on LinkedIn, follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram. This is Dave Vetter. Follow me on LinkedIn. Hang out, give us a like, give us a share. And if there's anything you'd love to see us chat about, throw it into the comments. We always love to engage with the audience and talk about topics that are fun and that help you grow your business. So we hope that this helped you complete your journey and hopefully helps you hit that $1 million mark. So thank you very much. We'll see you next week.
See you, Dave.
Later, Dave.